Bangladeshi opposition leader Tarique Rahman has arrived home after 17 years in exile. The leader of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party is a frontrunner to be the country's next prime minister. The current interim government, led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunis, is due to hand over power after elections in February.
On the streets of Dhaka, huge crowds come out to welcome Tarique Rahman back to his native Bangladesh after almost 2 decades in the UK. Fleeing what he described as politically motivated persecution.
It's hard to put into words how we feel. Today is a moment of immense joy for us. It feels like we are celebrating an Eid. We pray that the Almighty grants him a long life, and we hope he can build a new Bangladesh, just as he has dreamed.
It's impossible to put into words the feeling of seeing him in person after a long 17 years. We are overwhelmed with emotion. Our activists are also deeply moved. You can see everyone has come out to the field with placards, banners and caps.
Rahman comes from a notable political dynasty. The 60-year-old is a member of the Zia family and the son of the country's first female Prime Minister, Khalida Zia, who is now in ailing health. He returns to the country ahead of a landmark general election next year, after longtime leader Sheikh Hasina was ousted from power. And he is widely seen as the election frontrunner and the next person to lead Bangladesh.
We can speak to Zaima Islam now, a senior reporter at the Daily Star in Dhaka. Welcome to DW. Now, tell us a bit more about Tarique Rahman's story. Who is he and how popular is he in Bangladesh?
He's extremely popular. Right before his homecoming this morning, there were people who spent the entire night on the streets waiting for dawn to break, waiting to see Tarique Rahman on the streets. And for the first time in 17 years, there was a massive turnout in the streets of Dhaka today. And it really goes to show how much people were waiting for Tarique Rahman. He hasn't set foot in the country for 17 years. Since he left in 2008, he was he was incarcerated and tortured by a military caretaker government during that period of time. And he in a way escaped, he fled the country. He was in exile. And he's been carrying on his political activities using Zoom, using Skype for the most part. And he still somehow managed to retain control over this extremely large political party. Awami League and BNP, these are the 2 largest political parties in Bangladesh. And BNP have millions of followers. And Tarique Rahman still managed to essentially run a party through video conferencing.
Right. Now, Bangladesh has had a period of pretty major political instability focused around the toppling of the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina last year. Just tell us, how does Tarique Rahman fit into this in light of the elections coming up next year?
With Tarique Rahman coming back home, I think we are very hopeful that the elections will indeed be held and Bangladesh will transition into a democratic government. Since Sheikh Hasina was toppled in 2024, Bangladesh has been under an interim government that's being led by a Nobel laureate, Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunis. But it's still not an elected government. And Bangladesh does need to get back on the path of democracy, because that is what we are. We are a political democracy. And there have been concerns about whether the elections will indeed be held. There have been concerns about whether Bangladesh will continue under an interim government. But with Tarique Rahman coming back, we know for certain that he will not be taking no for an answer when it comes to the question of having elections. So in February next year, we will be having elections, hopefully.
Right. Now, you talked a bit about Rahman's life in exile. He was convicted in absentia of money laundering and corruption. He says the charges were politically motivated. Just tell us a bit more about that briefly, if you can.
There's a bit more than just money laundering, extortion. He was also convicted of orchestrating a grenade attack on an Awami League rally. As to how real these charges are, I think that is very difficult to decipher at the moment, so many years down the line, because the courts of the Sheikh Hasina-led government, the Awami League government, they were so politicized. They were, unless you were an Awami League follower, you couldn't even be a judge. All of the public prosecutors, they were followers of the Awami League. So the entire trial process has been extremely politicized. And we do know that Tarique Rahman was brutally tortured in custody when he was taken in for interrogation. And he's actually suffered lasting damages to his spinal cord because of that. He was allowed to get out of the country on medical grounds back in 2008, precisely because of how much torture he had suffered in custody. So, when you add all of this up, we can't really make an independent assessment of the charges against him because the evidence was politicized, the trial process was politicized. And he's been, since then, his name has been dropped from the charges.
We'll have to leave it there, Zaima. Thank you so much. Zaima Islam, senior reporter at the Daily Star in Dhaka.